Might just give a minute or two for people to settle. All right, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the session on the PRC experiences on our River Basin program and the food systems transformation journey. Thank you very much for taking the time to join us today. The work that we have in the PRC represents quite an innovative shift in our work in the AF&R sector and the broader climate and environment program. We're very proud of the achievements, and today I'd like to first welcome to the stage to provide some welcome remarks Director General Ehsan Khan from the East Asia Regional Department. So please welcome DG Ehsan to the stage. Thank you.
Distinguished guests, colleagues, partners, ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon to you all. It is my great pleasure to welcome you to this side event on transforming food systems through investing in natural capital approaches, experiences from the People's Republic of China. Let me begin by expressing my sincere appreciation to all our partners and speakers for joining us today, including representatives from the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Affairs, the Sichuan Department of Agriculture and Rural Affairs, the Hongshan Municipal Development and Reform Commission, the Nature Conservancy, and Tencent. Your participation highlights the importance of partnership and shared commitment in addressing one of the most urgent challenges of our time: how to transform food systems in ways that these are productive, resilient, and sustainable. Across Asia and the Pacific, the pressure on food systems are intensifying. The region is witnessing accelerating ecosystem degradation, depletion of natural resources, increasing water scarcity, biodiversity loss, and greater exposure to climate risks. Rising temperatures, extreme weather events, and deforestation are not only reshaping our landscapes, but are also weakening the ecological foundations on which agriculture and food security depend. In this context, transforming food systems requires more than improvements. In productivity alone, it also requires us to protect, restore, and sustainably manage the natural capital that underpins food production. Healthy soils, forests, wetlands, and biodiversity are no longer secondary considerations. They are fundamental assets that support livelihoods, resilience, and long-term development. The People's Republic of China has responded to this challenge by advancing the concept of ecological civilization. In practical terms, this means recognizing natural capital and ecosystem services as valuable assets that must be safeguarded and incorporated into development planning and investment decisions. It also involves creating innovative financing mechanisms such as eco-compensation and market-oriented incentives to restore and protect natural capital while supporting a low-carbon transition in food production. ADB is proud to support this transition. I'm also personally encouraged by what I have seen on the ground. I've had the opportunities of visiting several ADB-supported project sites in the PRC and seeing firsthand how investments in ecological protection, sustainable agriculture, and rural development can deliver tangible benefits for local communities and ecosystems. These experiences have reinforced my belief that investing in natural capital is not only the right approach, but also a practical and necessary one for building more resilient and sustainable food systems. Through our flagship programs in Yangtze River Basin, the Yellow River Basin, and beyond, ADB has been working with our partners to promote integrated approaches that combine nature-based solutions, ecological restoration, institutional strengthening, and landscape-based management. These efforts are helping to preserve, enhance, and sustain the natural capital assets that underpin food security while also supporting greener and more climate-resilient agri-food systems. What is especially important is that the lessons from these efforts extend well beyond the PRC. They offer practical insights for many of our DMCs across Asia and the Pacific that are facing similar pressures on how to maintain food protection, strengthen natural livelihoods, strengthen rural livelihoods, and protect ecosystems at the same time. They also demonstrate that investing in natural capital is not a competing objective. Rather, it is a foundational requirement for sustainable transformation of food systems. Today's session offers an important opportunity to do two things. First, to showcase lessons and best practices from ADB-supported programs and projects in the PRC, and to better understand how natural capital approaches can support food systems transformation. And share the knowledge across the region by discussing key challenges, opportunities, and practical pathways forward. I hope this discussion will generate not only useful insights, but also stronger partnerships. Transforming food systems requires coordinated action across sectors, institutions, and stakeholders. It requires public leadership, private sector participation, local ownership, and innovative financing. Most importantly, it requires a shared understanding that healthy ecosystems are not separate from food systems. They are at the very heart of them. Let us use this opportunity to learn from experiences, deepen our collaboration, and work together toward food systems that are more productive, that are more inclusive, are more resilient, and are nature positive. Thank you very much, and I wish you a productive and inspiring session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, DG-san. So as you can hear, our program in the PRC is really quite comprehensive. You'll see behind me some background on the extent of the program. The Yangtze River program over the last 10 years, we've already, from ADB commitment, supported about 20 projects and to the value of 3.5 billion in terms of investments. You can see for the extent of the basin, it really is quite diverse, different landscapes from the upper stream to the midstream to the downstream. And we've really taken the effort to try to make a strategic programmatic approach to address ecological challenges, climate change challenges, and also linking to green sustainable development, green livelihoods, which is the backbone for the PRC government's partnership with ADB through our country partnership strategies over the last 2 to 3 country partnership strategies, which has emphasized ecological civilization. The other major program that would be considered for ADB, a foundational programmatic river basin approach from landscape from source to sea, is the Yellow River Basin. And this basin, very different to the Yangtze, but again, because of the successes that we did in the Yangtze River Basin, we were asked to extend this program into the Yellow River to understand climate change impacts, more focused on water scarcity and the linkages between the upstream land management or lack thereof, the typical the sedimentation in the upper stream that gives the Yellow River system its name, and also to the extent possible how we can also link it to the broader programmatic approach that we have highlighted and developed in the Yangtze. So in the Yellow River, we've had 6 project loans, around 1.1 billion investments, and you can see the extent here. The river basin runs across 7 provinces and 2 autonomous regions. It's really quite a diverse region again. And I guess what I would like to stress before we move into the presentations in this session is that in the past, ADB often worked on project by project sort of basis without taking a very strategic approach. It was the Yangtze River Basin at first, and then the Yellow, that really extended this into a focused strategic program that looked at specific issues in the middle to upper reaches, where our maximum impact through ecological protection and upstream catchment management work would yield the most impact in terms of the downstream work. And we'll hear today from presenters that will outline the program that we have in the Natural Capital and Climate team, working very closely within our sector office and the East Asia Regional Department. And we'll also hear from government officials from the project counterparts that will talk about the impacts on some of these projects. So let me first introduce Mr. Sanath Ranawana. He is the director for the Natural Capital and Climate team. And he's got over 30 years experience working in this area of sustainable natural resources management. He oversees the program for the Natural Capital and Climate team in our sector office, and he will present an overview of the natural capital approach that we are implementing at the moment. So please welcome Director Ranawana to the stage. Thank you.
Do I have my slides up? Do I just, okay. No, not that one. I think it's a different slide deck. So until that's uploaded, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's very, very nice to be here and to welcome so many of you from different parts of the world. And I see a lot of PRC colleagues, and we're very, very pleased here to be launching this program on sort of what we call a deep dive into our operations in PRC to learn the lessons and to share those lessons. So here we have a problem like the. Yeah, so we're gathered here to discuss a topic, how food systems can be transformed through a natural capital lens, right? That begs 2 questions. What is natural capital, and what role does that play in transforming food systems? So what we're really talking about here is nature. Nature as we know it is land, soils, water, air, biodiversity, and all of that. And how we know that nature in all of its forms underpins food systems in all of its dimensions. Whether you take it from production of food to the processing of food, the transportation of food, the consumption, and the final disposal, in whatever aspect of the food system, there is some aspect of nature that underpins and supports the food system. So that part of the question is easier to answer, and I don't think I need to dwell too much on that. So let me focus more on the first part of that question. What is natural capital, and why are we presenting a natural capital lens when we talk about the food systems transformation? So the reason we are talking about the term natural capital, it's actually, we're still talking about natural resources, but we're trying to explain the need to invest in natural resources in language that investors understand. And that's the reason we are using the term natural capital. So natural capital is essentially a way to present nature and the need to invest in nature within an economic framework, and within a framework where we can assess and manage nature as a productive asset. Investors talk about stocks and talk about how stocks yield returns. And the same way, nature is also a stock of assets. And investing in nature is important to yield the returns of that, which is what we know as ecosystem services, flow of ecosystem services. And these services are what support all of the food system. And so when we talk about ecosystem services, there are provisioning services that are the services that are provided by soils in producing resources, food. There are also other services like amenity values and other services, plus ecosystem services also help to reduce the risks of investments in nature and in food systems. And so this methodology or this framework helps us to put a framework. It has helped using this method, or at least this concept, over time has helped to evolve a lot of methods to assess and to make nature more visible and actionable and more bankable. In the past, when we simply talked about nature as a natural resource, it's often talked about in the context of a public good. And we, within ADB, have invested a lot of money in many, many projects on natural resources management. And if you were to look back on our investments, ADB's investments over the last several decades, I would say one thing that stands out is that whenever we've done these investments, we have invested in a public good in the interest of the public. And so in the economic analysis that we do, we often talk about the economic return on investment, but we don't spend a lot of time talking about the financial return on investments in nature. And therein lies one of the biggest challenges for us, is that our investments in nature have perhaps not been as sustainable as they could have been if we had really focused on financial returns on nature. And we all know that government departments that are responsible for natural resources like forests or coasts or wetlands and so on, when they are confronted with the question, when we've had projects to invest in such resources, and once the projects are over and the government agencies then have to continue to maintain those assets that are supported and developed by investments, and they go back to their ministries of finance to request for funding, they come down lower in the order of priority when compared with infrastructure agencies and other agencies that bring tangible returns to the government. In the case of nature or natural resources like forestry and so on, these sorts of returns are not so tangible. They've been invisible. And that's the problem that we face with a lot of our investments in nature, is that the continuous maintenance and improvement of natural resource assets has been a challenge because these agencies have not been able to demonstrate a clear, tangible, concrete return on those investments. So by putting this lens of a natural capital, we have been able to develop methods and technologies and tools to be able to make natural resources more visible. And why is that important? So because once you are able to demonstrate that natural resources have actual value, those values can then be reported, and also the assets can be, government agencies can understand the importance of investing in such assets. Secondly, then these sort of resources, these natural resource assets, can then factor into the decision making of government agencies. So where it was probably fairly invisible in the past, as moving on, once we've understood the importance of nature and its natural resource assets, those decisions about investing in natural resources becomes more obvious in the planning and the decision making of government agencies. And then finally, once those investment in assets are understood and the revenue streams from nature are clearly understood, it's also then possible to structure new and more innovative financing mechanisms. So no longer are we then restricted to simply investing in nature through sovereign loans, like what we have done in the past. Mostly, development agencies like ADB would come in and prepare a project loan of 5 years, invest in it, and then move on. We are now, with this approach of talking about natural capital, we are moving to what we might call blended financing arrangements, opportunities to merge sovereign lending with non-sovereign private sector lending, or with grants and other types of impact investors and other sorts of lending. So these are the transformational ways that the term natural capital can actually help to scale investments in nature, and how that investment in nature can then support food systems, a transformation in the food systems. So just to demonstrate how we have used this method or approach, the natural capital approach, in one of our projects, I'll just share one project, but for the rest of this session, we're going to hear about many such projects. But the one I'd like to just focus on for 2 minutes is a project that we did in the PRC, at Yangtze Wetland Conservation Project. And in this project, it was a sovereign loan by the ADB, and it was to protect and restore a wetland, which was of very high importance from not just from a wetland from a biophysical perspective, but also from a regional cooperation perspective. This particular wetland happens to be a very important migratory bird habitat for what is called the East Asia, Australasia flyway. And so by investing in restoration of this wetland, the government agency was able to really demonstrate that it has not just a local benefit, but also a regional and a global benefit to the global community from serving as a migratory bird habitat. So it was a loan, but as I said, by understanding the importance of the natural capital asset that was being protected, it was also possible to structure a blended financing mechanism and have payment for ecosystem services being channeled back into the continuous maintenance and operation of this wetland. And by doing so, the project also benefited a large number of communities, mainly through the support provided in the restoration work, but also in the economic activities that were created after the restoration of the wetland. Several thousands of people benefited from employment, as well as from hotels that were developed around the wetland through for tourism, but also in other ways of using non-extractive resources from the wetlands. And of course, there was a conservation dividend of this project, and that's the huge number of 4,500 plus hectares of wetland that got restored, increase in the bird population, and it was such a significant site, as I said, that it was then declared as a World Heritage Site. So there were win-win. It was a win-win from many fronts. And so this is the kind of project that we promote by understanding the importance of a natural capital asset and then structuring a financing arrangement, which is not just a one-off investment from ADB, but a much more long-term sustainable financing arrangement. I will stop here because I just didn't want to take the wind off the sails of all the other interesting projects that you're going to hear about today. And so I look forward to a good discussion and then further questions on this natural capital approach. Thank you.
Thanks, Sanath. I think that's a recap of quite a milestone program, and I think I'll just quickly plug today we actually had sign off on our ADB Natural Capital Guidance Note. You'll hear more about that at tomorrow's session on Natural Capital Dialogues. I think it's in this room as well. Just check your program, but it'll be a full session tomorrow. Please don't miss that. Just moving on from the broader natural capital approach, it's my pleasure to also now introduce and to welcome Director General Zixiong Chen from MARA, the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Affairs. DDG Chen is from the Department of Farmland Enhancement, and he's overseeing a lot of the programs, especially the agricultural projects in ADB. And he looks after a lot of the work in developing the policies, investment advice, and the project management in this area of farmland enhancement. DDG Chen will present on advancing PRC's Store Grain in the Land strategy for sustainable development, and we're very pleased that he can join us today from his busy schedule. So please put your hands together for DDG Chen and welcome him to the stage. Thank you.
尊敬的亚洲开发银行各位同仁、各位嘉宾，大家下午好。我今天非常荣幸在美丽的马尼拉，与各位出席本次论坛的代表分享中国推进高标准农田建设，以及我们同亚洲开发银行在长江、黄河两大流域围绕高标准农田建设合作开展的生动实践与丰硕成果。共话农田建设高质量发展的美好远景。在此，我愿意与大家分享3个方面的内容：一、推进农田建设，提升农业气候韧性。本次论坛聚焦滋养未来、永续地球主题，是全球普遍关注的、长期高度重视的重大课题，具有重要而又深远的意义。我们常讲，手中有粮，心中不慌。中国作为发展中人口大国，解决好中国人吃饭问题，始终是我们的头等大事。长期以来，我们坚持主要依靠自己，解决国内粮食安全问题。在开放合作、包容发展中，推动了中国与世界农业共同发展，保障了中国粮食安全，为维护世界粮食安全做出积极贡献。截至2025年，中国粮食总产量连续2年超过1.4万亿斤，人均粮食占有量达到508公斤。中国饭碗端得更满，端得更稳，成色更足。在具体的行动层面的一个重要的原因，就是我们抓住了耕地这个粮食生产的命根子，扎实推进藏粮育地战略，集中力量打造旱涝保收、节水高效、高产稳产、 生态良好的高标准农田，让更多的农田变成良田，不断释放耕地产能，促进了粮食生产能力的持续提升。所谓高标准农田建设，主要是综合采取两方面措施，即通过田块整治和灌排沟渠、田间道路配套等项目化工程措施，完善农田基础设施；同时，通过土壤改良、培肥地力等长期化农业措施，持续提升耕地质量。实践中，我们坚持耕地数量、质量、生态三位一体保护，重点以耕地质量的有效提升，弥补中国耕地数量相对不足的短板，有效破解了人多地少、水缺的资源制约瓶颈。去年，中国发布了逐步把永久基本农田全部建成高标准农田实施方案，提出了到2035年的建设目标、建设要求和保障措施，对加快现代化良田建设、推动农业高质量发展、夯实国家粮食安全根基具有十分重要的意义。截至2025年底，中国累计建成高标准农田超过10亿，为保护农民种粮积极性，连续多年粮食丰产稳产发挥了重要支撑作用。实践表明，建成后的高标准农田项目区农业生产条件大幅改善，农业综合生产能力和质量效率稳定提升，耕地产出能力大幅提高。建成后的高标准农田项目区粮食产能一般提高10%到20%，抗灾减灾能力明显增强，实现了重灾少减产、轻灾保稳产、无灾多增产，资源利用效率显著提升，肥料、农药、灌溉水的利用率一般提升10%到30%，农业综合效益明显改善，高标准农田亩均结本增效500多元。在推进高标准农田建设的具体做法上，我们始终做到6个注重：一是注重生态优先，严守生态保护红线，通过田块整治、节水灌溉和集成推广绿色农业技术等措施，切实增强水土资源节约利用，强化耕地质量保护与提升，增强农田生态功能，实现农业生产与生态环境保护相协调，提升可持续发展能力。二是注重规划引领，建立健全国家、省市县4级规划方案体系，以1平2通3提升为基本标准，合理确定不同区域、不同类型高标准农田建设标准和投入标准，优先在东北黑土区、平原地区、具备水利灌溉条件以及粮食产量高和增产潜力大的地区开展建设，持续优化高标准农田建设空间布局和时序安排。三是注重系统治理，综合考虑自然资源禀赋、农业生产、主要障碍因素等，因地制宜确定建设重点和内容，把建设重点放在田内，优先开展田间基础设施建设，着力提高农田保水、保土、保肥能力，持续抵御旱涝灾害，机械化耕作便捷水平。同时，坚持种地养地相结合，大力开展土壤培肥改良，提升耕地地力，鼓励推行水肥一体化、智能灌排、智慧气象服务等现代农业技术。四是注重以民为本，引导农民全过程参与高标准农田建设，在项目建设前广泛征求群众意见，确保建设内容符合实际。在项目建设中，鼓励群众参与施工，统战监督，把工程试用结果、群众满意度作为验收的重要依据。在项目建成后，对田间地头日常使用率高的小型农田水利设施，支持经营主体开展运营管护，切实保障农民知情权、参与权、监督权。五是注重法治保障，出台粮食安全保障法、土地管理法、黑土地保护法，加快耕地保护和质量提升立法进程，完善农田建设相关法律法规制度体系，健全定期调度、分析研判， 讲优罚劣的任务落实机制，加强执法监督检查，严格保护高本农田，确保数量不减少，质量不降低。6是注重文化传承，结合乡村田园风貌、农耕文明开展农田建设，一方面融入生态理念和地方特色，传承发扬休耕能作、精耕细作等优秀传统文化；另一方面，将农耕文化的生动实践转化为现代化生产要素，为农田建设注入文化底蕴与创新动能，把祖祖辈辈耕种的农田保护好、提升好，充分发挥耕地产能的同时，让耕地得到休养生息，留得住乡愁。2、用好亚行贷款，助推农业持续发展。多年来，我们持续深化与亚行合作，推动外资项目与国内农田建设工作同向发力，围绕长江经济带发展、黄河流域生态保护和高质量发展国家战略，积极探索利用亚行贷款，在长江、黄河两大流域实施农业综合开发长江绿色生态廊道项目、黄河流域绿色农田建设和农业高质量发展项目，在建设田间基础设施的基础上，进一步对接农业产业发展需求，同步强化人才培养与能力建设，提升农业综合生产能力和质量效益，形成了长江项目成熟示范、黄河项目稳步推进的良好工作态势。以聚焦长江流域打造亚行旗舰项目，在长江流域，我们与亚行携手实施的长江项目已经成为亚行支持中国农业生态建设的标杆样板。该项目利用亚行贷款3亿美元，分布在湖北、湖南、重庆、四川、贵州、云南6省市47个县区、142个乡镇、790个行政村，惠及约204.9万人。建设期5年，已于2025年5月顺利关账，并通过亚行的实地评估，是亚行在中国实施的范围最广、管理规模最大的农业领域工程项目。亚行执行董事团、东亚局及驻华代表处等高级别官员多次莅临项目现场考察指导，对项目建成成果给予充分的肯定。项目荣获亚行2021年度最佳表现贷款项目奖、第11届母亲河奖绿色项目奖、亚行最佳项目管理奖等多项荣誉。在项目实施过程中，我们始终将农田建设与生态修复有机结合，通过实施现代农业、生态环境保护、能力建设3大工程，助力项目区农业提质增效，带动农民增收，实现生态效益、经济效益和社会效益相统一。一是以加强农业基础设施建设和农业配套措施为重点，实施灌排渠道、农田道路、节水灌溉等设施建设，配套开展土地平整、农机购置、保护性耕作、秸秆还田、设施大棚建设，有效完善了农田基础设施，提高了水土资源利用效率，提升了农业综合生产能力。例如在云南省的宣威市，通过新修田间道路、排涝沟渠，配套建设蓄水池、铺设灌溉管网，改善农田面积3000亩。放眼望去，建后的项目区道路通达，灌排通畅，实现了汉能交、涝能排、农机能进田作业。二是以农业污染物减排和生态保护为重点，实施绿色防控、测土配方施肥、有机肥推广、废弃物处理及水土保持、溪流治理等工程，有效改善了当地的农业生态环境与乡村生产生活条件。例如在湖南省衡南县花桥乡高新村实施生态溪流治理工程，河道行洪安全与水生态环境质量有效提升，河道周边人居环境显著改善，为当地农民营造了水清岸绿、安全宜居的生产生活空间。当地一位退休小学校长2023年在自己社交媒体账户上记录了这项工程实施前后的变化和工程投入使用后的感悟，收获了众多点赞。 2024年，当地爆发了大洪水，正是由于项目对河道进行了疏通和建设，把河道宽度和深度都进行了拓展。往年洪水淹没村庄和良田的情况没有再发生，村民都非常感激。我在这里为大家分享一段河流泄洪的视频。三是以强化管理人员和农业生产者素质提升为重点实施能力建设工程，开展农民技术培训，培育复合型农业人才。例如，湖北省石首市项目办组织农户开展田间生产技术培训，并带领农户参观刮菜、刮稻菜种植新模式设施大棚，为农户实地讲解种植新模式的优势与原理，帮助农民增收。特别是项目还建成了1+N 知识分享传播平台，在中国农业科学院农业资源与农业区划研究所设立中心平台，中央财经大学、湖南农业大学、西南大学、四川农业大学、贵州大学和首都师范大学6所高校设分平台，通过线上线下活动分享项目成效，网站浏览量超过15万次，有效助推乡村人才振兴和农业产业发展。2、深耕黄河流域，推进农田建设提质。在黄河流域，我们与亚行合作实施的黄河项目正在稳步推进，成为推动黄河流域农业节水增效、绿色转型的重要抓手。项目利用亚行贷款1.57亿欧元，位于山西、山东、河南、陕西、甘肃、青海、宁夏7个省区、24个县市的74个乡镇，涉及402个行政村，约207.4万人。黄河项目于2023年正式启动实施，计划时期为5年。项目聚焦绿色农田建设、产业提质升级、人才培育赋能、知识传播推广4大模块，协同推动区域农业可持续发展。一是绿色农田建设，以土地平整、高效节水灌溉、水土保持和生态修复为重点，着力打造适配黄河流域特点的优质农田。2是产业提升升级，以设施农业、农业废弃物资源化利用、智能化灌溉为抓手，推动特色产业高质量发展，切实提升当地居民收入水平。3是人才培养赋能，面向基层管理人员、技术人员、新型农业经营主体和农户开展针对性培训，重点加强妇女群体、少数民族地区的人才培养与技能提升，为区域长远发展筑牢人力资源根基。4是知识传播推广，深入开展课题研究，搭建常态化知识传播平台，推动绿色农业技术与生态保护理念在流域内落地生根、广泛应用。项目实施以来，我们持续强化与各相关部门的协同联动，保障项目决策科学、流程顺畅、执行有力，各项建设任务有序推进。目前已顺利完成咨询服务机构选聘、招标代理确定、实施方案细化等前期工作，分层分类开展了多轮次政策解读、业务流程、项目管理等专题培训，为项目全程实施奠定了坚实基础。山东、河南等重点省份已优先启动工程建设，为农田基础设施完善、设施农业发展、农产品加工提升等方面取得了阶段性的成效，同时加强实施过程中的经验总结与知识积累，系统整理项目影像及档案资料，提炼形成可复制、可推广的成功案例，不断扩大项目的示范引领效益。例如，河南省的三门峡市陕州区项目，田间道路工程已完工并投入使用，正在为改善周边村民农业生产条件发挥积极作用。项目支持山东省阳谷县金峰公社农业服务有限公司正在新建一座钢结构粮食仓库，建成投用后，预计年新增粮食收储能力 约2万吨。实践表明，长江项目的圆满收官与黄河项目的稳步推进，既是中国农田建设领域深化国际金融合作、拓展投融资渠道的生动实践，也是农田建设立足2大领域资源禀赋，推动农业高质量发展的有益探索。3、深化国际合作，共绘农田建设蓝图。回顾近几年实施长江、黄河项目的历程，我们在与亚行的成功合作中收获了3点重要启示：一是理念契合，为深化交流合作提供了重要基础。双方始终坚持把农田建设与生态保护、粮食供给、农民增收紧密结合，实现多方共赢，将我们共同的理念转化为现实的成果。二是机制健全，为项目建设提供了重要保障。双方共同完善项目管理、资金监管、技术交流机制，强化中外协同、上下联动，确保了项目规范高效推进。3是精准实施，为项目取得实效提供了重要的途径。双方充分尊重和顺应2大流域资源禀赋特点、农业发展差异化需求，突出针对性和可操作性，因地制宜制定和组织实施项目建设方案，让项目成效真正惠及当地群众。总体看，通过多年合作，我们有效改善了2大流域项目区农田基础设施条件，同步强化了基层技术推广与人员培训实效，提升了农业综合生产能力和生态环境保护水平。同时，引进推广了亚行先进的项目管理理念、技术标准和生态保护经验，为中国农田建设工作提供了有益的补充。我深信，在各方的共同努力下，长江项目的示范效益将持续放大，黄河项目必将高质量推进，如期实现预期的目标。展望未来，我们愿与各位国际友人继续分享中国在农业生态保护、粮食安全保障、国际金融合作等方面的实践成果，也期待持续深化与包括亚行在内的国际组织合作，携手推动农业可持续发展，共绘农业高质量发展的美好蓝图。谢谢大家的聆听。
Thank you very much, DDG Chen. I think you can see the quality of our work and the investments also play a part because we've got very comprehensive partners, and MARA certainly in agriculture, and certainly we have MEE in the environment space, and also Ministry of Natural Resources on natural capital accounting. It really plays a big part when we're all aligned in terms of the vision, the action plan, the government strategies, as well as ADB's priorities in terms of the country partnership strategy. So thank you very much, DDG Chen. The next presenter is Dr. Jiming Niu. He's our lead project officer. He will present on the Yangtze River project, the comprehensive agricultural development project that was referenced by DDG Chen, and showcase some of the findings. So a good part of this project is it's currently in the completion stage. It has completed, and I think this will shed some real knowledge and lessons and impact, because this is a project that has completed, and we can see some of those lessons in full play. So please welcome Dr. Niu to the stage. Thank you very much.
Yeah, very good afternoon. Yeah, my slides. Yeah, DDG Chen just gave us a very comprehensive presentation about PRC's agriculture development programs. The project I'm going to present is actually a good example that ADB has been working with the government to promote its green agriculture development programs. I had the privilege to work with the DD Chen's team in past years to design and deliver this important project. I think the slide is yet to come. Oh, yes. Thank you. So the project is located in the Yangtze River basin, as mentioned by DDG Chen. The Yangtze River is the largest river system in the PRC, the third largest in the world, following Nile and Amazon. The Yangtze River basin, also supports about half of the country's economy. So the Yangtze River Economic Belt Initiative is a strategic program that government initiated to pursue more balanced regional development, focus on ecological protection and green transformation. ADB, next, yeah. ADB responded to this initiative very quickly since its launching in 2016 and adopted a framework approach to support this initiative. One of the 4 priorities on this framework is actually ecological restoration and green development, including water resources management. So the project is an important initiative under this framework program. Next slide, please. Oh, thank you. So what's the project rationale? Because project agriculture is one of the top priorities in the Yangtze River Economic Belt Initiative. For example, the region produces about 1/3 of the country's summer grain and over 60% of early rice. It is also one of the country's most important grain production regions. And the agriculture in the region supports livelihoods for the rural people over 150 million. But their per capita disposable income is only 30 to 40% of their counterparts in the urban areas. So there is a great need to address this imbalance between rural and urban areas. And also, agricultural production not only had adverse environmental impacts. For example, soil and water pollution, soil erosion, forest loss, and also emissions of greenhouse gases. But also, the agriculture sector is affected severely by the environmental degradation and also vulnerable to climate change. So because of this, the agri-food system is in this region shows a very typical food, nature, and climate nexus that we need to address appropriately. To address these challenges, request a holistic approach. The Green Ecological Corridor offers a possibility to restore ecosystem functions and services while improving agriculture and food systems and landscape approach. So this approach also fits into ADB's Hills to Ocean program, as Sean just mentioned. DD Chen just already introduced the details about project, but a very quick highlight that the project has been completed in 2024 November. It's a very unique that it's a project that the central government takes the loan of the ADB and allocate loan proceeds to participating provinces as a grant. So it's quite unique, not repaid by the local government. So the project covers 6 provinces, about 47 counties, several hundreds of villagers and townships. So it's a very complicated project with so many implementing units at the grand scale. During implementation, we also had a very difficult time of the 3 years during COVID-19. But we completed the project without any extension. It's also very incredible. So this really thanks to great leadership and the cooperation of our National Project Management Office. So its director, Madam Sue, is also here. So thank you very much. The project has three key outcome targets. So by completion, all outcome targets have been achieved extensively. So one of outputs is modern farming systems, including irrigation, infrastructure, facilities, access and tractor roads, greenhouse facilities, machineries, green manure, and also conservation agricultural practices. So I will not repeat the figures here. And the other output is the environmental management system. The project strengthened management of environment in the region. This included facilities, for example, for waste management, not only from the residents, but also from animal husbandry, including pollution monitoring facilities and assets, integrated pesticide management, and also riverbank and roads site protection along the farming lands, and also ecological restoration and tree plantation. Another very important outcome is knowledge and capacity development. Especially, I will highlight a very important initiative that the project has supported, which was a web-based knowledge platform. We call it 1+N platform. One represents a core team at the central level, and N represents branches supported by provincial teams. Basically, information and knowledge we shared include good practices from project, policy and technical updates and progresses, extension, news, conferences, etc. So the staff that this platform collected are widely disseminated to broader users, including local government officials at a different level, local farmers, sometimes also business people too. After this completion, more importantly, this platform continues to serve other projects, including some government programs and also the Yellow River programs DDG Chen just mentioned. We also had a comprehensive review of the completion on the climate change impact and had some interesting findings. In the project area, during implementation, there were extreme weather events such as high temperature and droughts in 2022. So these, extreme hot temperature and droughts events caused a serious seedling mortality, about 70 to 80%, for example, for tea trees, and 50% of fruit trees. However, in the project areas equipped with irrigation systems, mortality rate generally was less than 10%. So it's very significant. In one of project provinces, Hubei province, we also experienced a very extreme low temperature, basically from the ice and the snow disasters at the beginning of 2024. Damaged all greenhouses we built under the project in 4 of 6 cities, resulting in a total economic loss, over 8 million RMB. Crop yields also dropped a lot by over half, mainly of rapeseed and wheat. So such extreme weather events was actually not expected, by our climate risk assessment during processing. If for colleagues not working ADB, basically we have this climate risk assessment during the project design. So, but this kind of events are not expected during the assessment. So this review also stresses us, for futures climate risk assessment, we may need to do this assessment more seriously. So some lessons. One of successful factors of this project is actually the project is highly relevant with the government, strategy programs, as mentioned, Yangtze River Economic Belt, and also food security through, high standard farming land, and also green development. So because the project is an integral part of the government, strategic programs, and also it fits very closely, with the livelihoods of local farmers and, local people. So there was a very strong ownership, not only from the government agencies, but also from local communities. Because of the, strong ownership, we could deliver the project without extension, despite of challenges during COVID-19, as mentioned previously. And during implementation, local people, farmers, and farmers cooperatives were engaged during the project design and planning and the implementation. They also input labor as counterpart measures during implementation for planting or constructing field facilities. So the project conducted a very big number of training, including technical and environmental awareness focused on local people. We also introduced annual work plans to make sure the activities to be implemented closely in line with local agriculture development plans every year and the updates. And also give the practical features of agriculture activities and the facilities and field works. So we update the procurement plan regularly to reflect final engineering design and actual local conditions. So way forward, this program has been replicated in following projects as mentioned in the Yellow River Basin. And also, we transform from production, transform the focuses from production to nutrition. For example, we are working with the Sichuan provincial government to promote this Sichuan low carbon project. We're also going to touch it later. And also we shift from land to water, like in Chishui River. We're working with the local government to address the river systems. And also we focus our focus is also shift from infrastructure to mechanisms. For example, eco-compensation, nature credits. We are working with central government in operators of Yangtze River to do this kind of experiments. And also the final part is the partnership. The government is very importantly, in a role to set the stage. And the farmer cooperatives and other private sectors can perform their roles accordingly. In Chinese, we call it 大台唱戏. So it's very important to create an enabling environment for private sector engagement. This is actually a very critical task, not only in China, but also in the whole region. So I will just stop here. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jiming. And look, we are running behind time, but let me just say that we'll wrap up session 1 on food systems transformation, and in the next session, my colleague Chai will moderate. But this is going to be very interesting because this is where, as Director Ranawana mentioned earlier, the financing gap. How do we bridge the financing gap for nature? So in this next session, we'll have the private sector, and we'll have a few of the speakers as well that addresses innovations in this regard. So let me just invite Chai to take over from session 2, innovative financing mechanisms, and thank the audience for your patience that we're running a bit over time. So thank you.
Thanks, Sean, and it's been a long day, and we try to wrap up as quick as possible. So before we start, actually, I'm making the first request to the next speakers. Let's try to maintain within 7 minutes each. Okay, so let's get started. As we push our sort of operational boundaries in the People's Republic of China, as you have seen some of the examples we are doing here, one of the key innovations for our operations are in the financial sector. That how do you do things differently to mobilize financial resources? You may already heard this morning that ADB's ambition of $40 billion in food system transformation by 2030, including at least 27% from the private sector. Now, this may look like a lot, but actually it's like compared with the overall needs, they serve more as kind of a catalytic sort of purpose to leverage financing from different sectors, especially the private sector. So our next speakers are actually an interesting mix of sort of international organizations and private sector, government, and the research academies. And I'm talking about the Nature Conservancy, Tencent, the Huanggang Municipality Government, and also University, Zhejiang University, and the International Food Policy Research Institute. So let me first invite Mr. Zhang Xiaoquan. Zhang Xiaoquan is the country director for the Nature Conservancy for China, and he has an ecology degree and was a professor at the Chinese Academy of Forestry. Welcome, Mr. Zhang.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. With honor to be here to share something what we have been doing, and let's find the video. No. How to work? Is there someone to help me? Yeah. So as everyone knows that there's a huge financial gap, for the biodiversity conservation, and the biodiversity credit have been identified as one of the important financial instruments in GB biodiversity framework, and this kind of biodiversity credit have been applied over 100 projects, either mandatory like the UK and the voluntary market, such as the world standard and primary world standard, and built on our experience, in developing the land-based carbon project in last 20 years, and also our long-term experience in science-based biodiversity on-the-ground conservation project, and we conduct in-depth review of the existing methodology and project. And we develop a biodiversity credit methodology for terrestrial ecosystem conservation. This includes ecosystem conditions and protected species index, and also project extend. The ecosystem condition includes some elements such as the species diversity, taxonomy, phylogeneity, and also the ecosystem diversity. And at the end, the number of biodiversity credits represent net gain from either avoiding loss or improving biodiversity. And also, we also consider the buffer to address the permanent issues at the carbon project. And come back to the Yangtze River. Yangtze River is the only first order tributary of Yangtze River without dams on the mainstream. And it provides refuge for over 150 rare and endemic fish species. It accounts for 1/3 of the whole Yangtze River. And we started working in 2010. I identified the conservation priority area in the upper reaches of Yangtze River, and also in 2019, working with local government and other partners, we developed the 5 years conservation and protection restoration action plan, and the top priority action is remove the small dam on the rivers, and also restore the fish habitat and some more. And then start 2021, driven by the government as TNC and the local partners provide technical support for the removal of over 300 small dams. Actually, over 80% of the dam have been removed, and over 90% of the small hydropower station have been phased out. And this is the before and after, but there's still some dams there because of the local livelihood and also like drinking water and irrigation. We have to, keep there. And the picture also shows something before removal and after removal. And we also work with local partners to restore some key habitats. The step poor systems we created, really ambitious, restoration, just very simple, very cheap, use some stone, throw in the river and create some small pool for fish. And so based on the monitoring of our partners, the significant improvement of the increase of the either both species of fishes and also the size of the fish population, and improve the connectivity of over 8,000 kilometers of rivers. And in last year, working with ADB and other local partners, we developed the next 5 years conservation and restoration action plan. We call it Durable Freshwater Protection Plan, and recommended actions over the next 5 years, priority the e-flow implementation and the habitat restoration, and also exploring the innovative funding mechanism. And so following this recommendation in the conservation plan, the biodiversity credit has been embedded into the ADB's lending project in Treasure River, specifically in Gunung City and in Gunung County of Sichuan Province. And it's as one of this will provide as one of the financial instrument contributing to the durable conservation, and we will develop the methodology and then develop the panel project in Gunung, and then monitoring verification transaction of the credit, and use the income of the credit transaction contribute to the conservation of the Treasure River. This can help to ensure the durable conservation outcome. I'm looking forward to working with ADB and other local partners. Thank you for your attention.
Thanks very much for Ms. Zhang. We look forward to this collaboration in the Chishui River Basin, and indeed, it's an exciting journey for us. We are going to talk more about the biodiversity credit tomorrow, the lateral capture session, if you're coming, and yes, you are invited to come. The next speaker is Ella Wang. Ella Wang is the Senior Program Director from the Carbon Neutrality Lab of Tencent. Now, Ella actually has very extensive sort of a list of activities. I'm not going to go through, but if you think of the cool things that they do at one of the most cutting-edge technology companies, that's her. So let's hear from Ella.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ella. I'm from Tencent. So before we start, I just briefly introduce our team. So I'm from the Climate Innovation Hub. We are not for-profit team. We mainly work to broaden like sustainable social value and to contribute more from the corporate perspective to the society. So our work is mainly about to help our own carbon emission reduction target. We have a 2030 net zero target on scope 1, 2, 3. Thanks. And also we try to leverage more resource from our corporate to work together with our partners, external partners, and to accelerate the carbon emission reduction progress in the whole society. Many of you may have heard about Tencent. We are not only the technological solutions provided to industry, to individuals. but we also provide a lot of entertainment to the individuals. So many of you have heard about games. Before I talk about blended finance, just talk about one sentence of our games. We're also doing the environment protection education through games as a media channel to the young generation. So everyone can, they play Honor of Kings, they play PUBG Mobile, they play Crossfire, all of those top games around the world that millions of young generations are playing. They will receive information on forest protection, ocean protection, agriculture, all of those carbon-related, climate-related issues. So that's what we do. Okay. So my topic is catalyzing the natural capital. So from our side, it's mainly about three things. One is the seed funding that we provide through our philanthropy arm. So we have a fund. So we do grants to the external partners. And also we do carbon markets practice. We are committed to procure carbon credits while we do all the best to do emission reduction. They're like 10% of our annual emission we have to procure carbon credits. And the third part is about the digital technology that we want to provide to the whole society. I'll give you specific examples. So for the catalytic funding, we have been trying to donate to those industries that we think they are lack of capital investment, basically. For example, in agriculture, there's a specific rice species called water-saving, drought-resistant rice, 节水抗旱稻. So this specific rice variety can reduce 90% of methane emission reduction. And also it can grow not only in China, but can grow in 18 countries across Asia and Africa. That rice is developed by the Chinese scientists in Shanghai, and then gradually grow them across different provinces. What we do, we believe this is like good crop, and it tackles the climate problem, both mitigation and adaptation. So we want to accelerate the growing, not only in China, but globally. And we identify that the farmers need more motivations to plant the new species. That's why we support methodology development and the carbon market. So they will receive extra funding from the carbon market if they sell the carbon credits developed by the crop. So that relies on the carbon market development, and we are actually sending both the fund to the methodology development team, and also we are sending the carbon credit procurement signal to the market, because we want to buy it and we commit to buy it, and there will be more developer and investor to support this agriculture crop. And the second case I would like to share is about forestry. So many of you have heard about forestry. It has been a very hot topic in the carbon market. People are spending a lot to develop the carbon credits, because if you want to get the credits, usually you send people, like experts, to go to the woods, and then they measure it manually, like the plant, how tall it is. And then it will develop the carbon credit, and it costs a lot because of the human cost. And also the accuracy is not always stable. That's why we actually hired the digital technology. So we use drones that gives you like pictures across that woods. And if you upload in the system, behind there's the model, the AI model developed by the forestry experts. They will tell you each dot actually represents one tree. And if you get two different pictures, like in different years, this year you get one picture, the other year you get another picture, it shows you how much it grows and gives you the carbon credits, basically automatically. So that gives you accuracy, and also it saves a lot of cost. The third case is about biodiversity. So we have a mini program that you can use in WeChat. It's called Wild Friends. It actually can tell you about 289 species if you take the picture. You upload it, it tells you what species it is. It has like 94% of accuracy for snow leopard. This is based on the cooperation between Tencent and the WWF. They have like the conservation. They trained to identify the species. And for that, we're actually helping with the biodiversity evidence. If you have like an ecological protection area, you want to have data, that gives you the data. And also it gives you like individuals who likes to do like look at the birds. They always take pictures. If you use it, you can find out what kind of bird it is. On the market side, because we are like a committed carbon credit market player, we do like commitment to the market that we want to buy high integrity carbon credits, like nature-based solutions, agriculture, forestry, ocean. They are all good, type of carbon products. We committed to buy them. So 2024, we have committed like 3 million tons. 2025, we work together with Gen Zero at Temasek-based carbon credit arm. We have a strategic partnership. We look for good carbon credits in China and across the globe. Why we think the demand is important? Because demand is set the signal to the whole market that there is a strong demand here. Then the investors and even the financial institutions, they are more confident to provide capital to carbon credits, and that really helps with the conservation work. This is my last slide. So looking forward, we want to build a thriving ecosystem. We know we are small. Each year we have our emission between 500 to 600 million tons. It's not big, basically. But if we can work together with similar mindset, the companies, we can send an aligned signal to the market, and we can make a bigger impact. So right now, we are working together with our partners to launch a buyer alliance focused in Asia, because we think Asia has specific challenges that we need more resource. And like Asia headquartered corporates, we have better understanding of the region, of the need. So we want to launch alliance. I cannot tell the specific names and too much details, but you can expect it in the following months. It will come. And also, I want to do an advertisement because next week, Saturday, is the Earth Hour. We will partner with the WWF to do more public engagement. So I really welcome you to watch the Earth Hour activity and listen to the song created by our Crossfire Games. Thank you.
Thank you, Ella. And I don't know if any of us here have carbon credit that you want to share to Anna. Maybe there's an opportunity after this session. We are certainly working with our clients, the governments and communities to try to sell carbon and also biodiversity credits to Tencent. That's why, Anna, you are here. We do have a hidden purpose. Next speaker is Mr. Hu Faqiang. Hu Faqiang is the Deputy Director General from the Huanggang Municipal Development and Reform Commission. Now, we often talk about policies and the solutions that we want to propose to someone. Mr. Hu, at the sort of DRC, is sitting in this kind of positions and doing these bigger plannings. Welcome, Hu.
尊敬的各位嘉宾、各位朋友，大家下午好。今天呢，我们非常荣幸在2026年亚太系统论坛与大家分享黄山市在亚航贷款绿色金融试点中的探索与实践，讲述我们如何以绿色金融推动生态保护、农业升级与农民增收的生动实践和务实实践。主要呢从3个方面汇报，一个是黄山的概况与项目总体情况，第二个是绿色金融创意实践，第三个是最后总结与展望一下。黄山是世界文化与自然双重遗产的，以奇松、怪石、云海、温泉、冬雪、五绝闻名天下。是中国最美的湘粤之一，与长江、长城、黄河同为中华民族的象征。这里不仅有世界级的自然风光，更有底蕴深厚的徽州文化、徽派建筑、徽茶、徽菜源远流长，臭鳜鱼、磨豆腐等特色美食，更是徽州饮食文化的鲜活代表。借此机会，请允许我在这里给大家播放一个视频，展示一下春天里的黄山。请工作人员把视频播一下子。不好意思，请大家稍等一下子，这个视频不看呢，一定是个遗憾。谁能了解？各位嘉宾，刚刚呈现的黄山是大自然鬼斧神工的杰作，奇松奥丽，云海翻涌，构成了一幅流动的山水画卷。为此呢，也诚邀各位到我们黄山共赏这独一无二的东方之美。 我们这个亚航项目呢，是依托我们亚航贷款项目设立了2个基金，在全国是率先设立的，主要是探索生态价值向产业价值转换、流域治理与绿色发展市场化、国际化的路径，形成可复制、可推广的绿色发展模式。也正是得益于亚航贷款项目的深入推进，我们新安江流域生态环境治理持续保优、稳中趋好。我们新安江的水质持续优于国家的2类标准，每年向千岛湖输送70亿的立方清水，兑现了一江清水出新安的庄严承诺。我们新安江模式呢，在中国21个省份、30条流域复制推广。下面介绍的是绿色投资基金，基金总规模2亿人民币，重点投向生态环境改善、生态资源转换类绿色食品，实现投资受益再投资的可持续循环。项目收益在偿还贷款本息、运营费用剩余的资金全部流回基金，确保长期稳定，发挥绿色引导作用。目前亚航已审核同意基金项目5个，总投资2.15亿元，已完成投资1.05亿元，生态效益、经济效益、社会效益同步显现。这里是个典型的案例，我们一线的有农现代农业社会化服务项目，通过这个基金的支持，我们服务面积从0.1万亩扩大了7万亩，带动约1.6万农民增收，水稻的种植产量提升了15%，每亩成本下降了300元，化肥农药减量25%，农田温室气体排放减少了15%，企业先后获评中国农业社会化服务创新试点单位。在这里特别要报告的一下是，我们这个公司的董事长徐海波，在2025年5月23日，国务院举办的新征程上的奋斗者中的记者见面会上发言，并接受了中外记者的提问。目前已成为我们华山市、我们安徽省的绿色农业高质量发展的示范样板。第2个是绿色激励基金，基金总规模6000万元，主要是以绩效激励的方式支持茶企建设绿色茶园，推动茶叶生态化、茶园绿色化、茶产业增值化，对实施减肥减药、水土保持等生态措施的茶园，按照绩效的管理给予资金支持，通过基金撬动传统茶园，实现绿色生态转型。这个成效也非常明显，目前已建成绿色茶园4700亩，茶叶亩均增收12公斤，亩均增收2000元，鲜叶农残检出100%达标，13块茶园实施坡改地，土层厚度平均增加10厘米，土壤有机提升15克每千克，水土流失 显著改善，生态屏障更加稳固。请工作人员播放一个视频，大概也是20秒。这是我们绿色茶园。欢迎大家去看啊！延伸农业、超越农业的一个典范。
你會察覺到我更公寂寞難耐，即使千多百個深夜曾在夢境內，我又吻過你，這畢竟並沒存在。
总结与展望，各位嘉宾、各位朋友，天地之美，美在环山，人生有梦，梦圆回收。我们的环山通过绿色投资基金加绿色激励基金的双轮驱动，实现了生态保护、产业升级、农民增收、国际合作、多方共赢，为亚太地区生态友好型食物系统转型提供了中国实践环山方案。我们也非常愿意与亚太各国继续加强交流合作，共同推动绿色金融创新，共建可持续、有韧性的食物系统与生态的未来。最后，诚挚欢迎各位嘉宾、各位朋友有空到我们环山观光考察，品食美味。谢谢大家。
Thank you, Mr. Hu, for your passionate talk. And my apologize. I mentioned that Mr. Hu is a good planner, but also it seems that he's a good product ambassador. That you're all invited to visit Huangshan. So okay, we are running behind time, but don't worry. You know, there is a dinner at 6 p.m. just outside by the staff hub. So you know, my proposal is that let's finish this session and we go together. We still have the last speaker here to go before our director comes and moderate the final closing. So Mr. Kevin Chen, Professor Kevin Chen, is a senior fellow from the International Food Policy Research Institute, and he is also a Qiu Shi Chair Professor at the School of Public Affairs and the International Dean of China Academy of Rural Development with the Zhejiang University. Welcome, Professor Chen.
Well, thank you so much. I'm the last speaker. And when I look at a watch, and I actually have more time than I initially thought. Right? Dinner is at 6. So anyway, I'm going to talk about something slightly different. I'm going to take you with me to do a real deep dive into a village. So I'm not going to talk about Yangtze River Basin and the Yellow River Basin, that big scale. I'm not even talking about the big scale like Huangshan City. I'm going to take you to the village in the Zhejiang province. And the village, Qingfeng Zhang has a visit. Zhiming was there 2 years ago with me. And this is the pilot village that CGIR, Climate Action Science Program, has a pilot of there. And we practice a number of innovative practice there, which not invented by the CGIAR, which actually come from the villages itself. So that's what something I really value, which I thought is very important. Yangtze played a huge role in that particular village. So I want to talk about something called reinventing. So when I say reinventing, that means we want to do something new, something different. So let me start with a bit background. What is background? I want to start with something big, then come to the village. What is something big? That's the big, what we call gold. Green is gold. 绿水青山就是金山银山. My translation is simple. Green is gold, right? So this is the new development philosophy in China. Why is this philosophy? Conventional development thinking. There's always a trade-off between the economic development and the environment. The famous Kuhn's curve. Green is gold. Look at a very alternative development model. That means we look at a synergy between environment and the economic development. This particular case say that's possible in that particular village. That's what I try to use that village case to demonstrate that particular synergy. And this is, to me, it's quite an interesting case. I don't want to spend too much time on this slide. And basically that means, well, we want to rethinking of the payment for the ecological service and link it together with the rural development and many other dimensions of development. So that's the key issue. So typically, how can we find a way to have PES support sustainable rural development? That's the key issue. And so during the development, what we certainly find, the place-based PES is very important. Because traditionally, what we look at is the place-neutral one. So we said, one-size solution going to address all the challenge. That's not the case. So we need place-based PES to address the issue. It's not something we come up. It's something practiced in British example a while ago, right? And so this type of practice still face a number of significant challenges. So I identified probably 4 challenges here. One is the weak governance capacity. Second is limited private sector participation. And the third is the volatile donor or subsidy fundings and high coordination cost. So to make the case work, we have to address those challenges. That's the important part, right? So now let me take you to that small village. That village has about 900 households, which has that small water reservoir, which is very typical in China, right? So the issue is, this is the area covered by forest. Largely it's bamboo. So bamboo is the economic source for the local residents. So what do they do when you have economic value? To raise the yield, you apply a lot of fertilizer, pesticides. When you do that, what happens? You pollute the water reservoirs which you have, right? So water is not drinkable, is not usable, creates a tremendous challenge. How you address that? Really, you have to find a way to convince the farmer to reduce the use of fertilizer, to reduce the use of pesticides. You would think that's easy. It's really not easy. How can we do that? TNC comes in, right? They worked with the Wanxiang Corporation, with the Ali Foundation, and with some seed money for 3 years. They consolidated the land, rented the land from farmer, pays the farmer, and reduce the use of fertilizer and pesticides. After 3 years, results is very significant. The water quality improved significantly from grade 4 or 5 to grade 1 and 2. It's become drinkable, right? The surrounding environment has been changed significantly. So this is quite interesting. Challenge comes. Once you did that, you have seed money, you make that happen. What about year 4, 5, 6, long into the future, right? Are you going to rely on the subsidy? Unlikely, right? That's why the government of China calls for diversified source of for supporting the ecological compensations. So where the money come from? Government can be one source for that, but funding from government is always limited. We know that, right? And from NGO, it's also limited. So where the money should come from? Can we find the internal source of that? So that's why we look for market-based ecological compensation. We want to look at the market to come up with the money to do that. Do we have that market? You will be surprised. In that little village, we do. And because we have very clear beneficiary, once you have a clear boundary, you can identify the beneficiary. What are you going to find? Well, those beneficiaries which can clearly identify, they are willing to pay money. They come up with the good water fund, which is going to cover the maintenance cost, other costs, to keep running of this good water fund and to keep maintain the water quality and keep paying farmer to do that good work on the restore the water quality and so on. So this is the way to go, right? That's what we call the market-based ecological compensation. That's very important. So important thing is how we make that. I'm not going to take you through the evolution of that, right? And a couple of things has to work. Number one, conservation has become linked to the community development aspiration, right? So water conservation, landscape improvement, rural development become all come together. So economic value going to be realized. And financing now going to rely on the economic activity in the local. What kind of economic are we talking about? Tourism, the local hotel, the local restaurant. Once the water becomes drinkable, the water company comes in, they can sell the waters. So all those economic entities are willing contributing the money to that good water fund to support the continuation of the improving and maintaining good water quality. That's important, right? So this is what happening, but key thing is what I mean, you need a good governance to guarantee those kind of conditions can be met, which is very important. So in that particular system, they have a program called Good Neighbor Platform. What that mean? That means that particular platform has capacity to governance issue of the different source of funding. At the same time, they are able to introduce the customer to those local hotel and the restaurant. So that's the condition which will convince the local hotel owner to willing to pay into this good water fund to keep the water quality in good shape. So that's the key thing. So as you can see, to make this model work, a lot of precondition has to met. So this is in the way, is a very innovative nature of doing the PS, doing the market-based ecological compensation. And if we want sustainability, that's the approach we have to rely on. This approach has yet to be practiced in the ADB loan project. So now you have $40 billion you've been talking about. You have more money to practice those type of innovations. When you're looking into that, I think it's a good case to have a serious look from the project design perspective. Something could be extended to the new line of the ADB loan project. This is not has implication for China. It also has implication for other developing countries in Asia, right? So with that, I'd like to conclude my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, colleagues, and finally to Mr. Kevin Chen for that excellent presentation. Actually, you just helped me a lot by making a strong pitch for attending tomorrow's session on launching the Natural Capital Guidance Node, which is where we are trying to make that type of sustainable financing mainstream within ADB's operations. So thank you for doing that for us. And I thought that last session presentation was a beautiful way to end a long session, starting with the principles of natural capital and ending with showing how it's actually been applied directly in a village with a water fund. And of course, in between, we heard some extremely good presentations from different people from PRC. And I think, you know, to the audience, particularly those who are here, it's a long day. It's been a very long day and you've heard a lot of things, but the depth of experience from the Chinese projects that we talked about is significant. And maybe today we only touched on it, but if you dig into any of those projects, you'll see that there's some huge lessons and knowledge to be shared. So I encourage you to follow up with any of the speakers that you heard from today or even talk to us. We'd be happy to put you in touch. But there is a wealth of information. I see people from Cho in Vietnam, my colleague, Mr. Rohita from Sri Lanka. We are talking about pests to do in Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Cambodia, all these countries. There's a lot to learn from China, and I really encourage you to do that. So we don't have a lot of time. Dinner was being served in 2 minutes. so we, but if there's any burning questions, or not even questions, but any comments, reflections, we can take a couple before we end the session. Maybe while you think about a question or maybe you're so burnt out, you're only thinking about dinner right now. So in which case we can end. But there is a team here from Sichuan province, and we've just approved a very innovative project on low carbon agriculture in Sichuan, from methane reducing rice varieties, and how that's another example of how we could, incentivize farmers to do the right practice and then provide a mechanism for payments to those farmers through carbon credits. If there's anyone who, Mingyuan, is there anyone who will like to say something a little bit about that? Or it'll have to be very short, but